women should not be in roles of combat.
Do you mind scooching in just so we can kind of have to reach out and hold this here for you? Olivia, Steven, nice to meet you. I don't know how familiar you are, if at all, with the Change My Mind kind of format, but it's basically a way for us to rationalize our positions on seemingly controversial topics. To clarify my stance today, yeah, I don't believe that women, and I use the term women here because it is exclusively for women that we've lowered PT requirements and standards and barriers to entry in the military and the police force as far as enlisted services, as far as combat roles, infantry, for example, beat cops. So that's why I use that example. I don't believe that they should be in roles of physical combat where they would encounter violence for a multitude of reasons, largely because of safety issues, both for them, but more importantly, their squad mates and the citizens they're sworn to protect. If you disagree with me, I'm more than happy to hear why and change my mind.
All right. I know you said like your main concern with it is the women joining are lowering the PT requirements. So I don't.
The military has lowered it so they can join.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that that should mean that women should not be in combat roles. I mean, if your problem with that is that the PT requirements are being lowered, I don't think the PT requirements should be lowered.
Okay.
Like I know that would mean that like technically less women would be able to join.
Yeah, it does.
Because like testosterone, but I don't feel like that should mean that like just women shouldn't be in combat roles in general, because there are those like exceptions. Women who are just like naturally stronger or bigger or like stuff like that would be able to keep up with natural PT requirements. And just like there's men that can't keep up with PT requirements.
Sure.
That's why like when you're looking at like officers or like military or police, they're typically held at the standard.
Not women, actually. That's the problem. They're held to a much lower standard. But I would agree with you. So it sounds like you're suggesting a physical meritocracy. Okay.
And I understand that would mean that like
I would
less
agree
women
with
would
that.
join.
Yes.
But,
well,
yeah.
we went from 2% of women in the 70s to 16%. And we've lowered the PT requirements consistently. And even just recently in the Army, created a gender neutral test that less than 10% of men failed and 65% of women failed. This is still a really low test. I mean, we should have the rigorous test that we did.
We should.
And if women met those, they could be in those roles.
Yeah, and like I said, I
agree
understand there'd be a lot of women that wouldn't be able to make it.
Sure.
But
and men. And I agree.
men,
The men
yeah.
who don't meet those standards shouldn't be in either. This stat kind of blew my mind. Is a woman in the Marines can do half as many pull-ups as a man and get a perfect score. And that's not the only standard I'm using. I'm just using it because it's a very clear metric. When we're talking about this, the reason this is broad is because legislatively, the only reason that our standards have been lowered to the point of them being, frankly, kind of embarrassing, is to accommodate women. We haven't changed them. You know, the beauty of a physical meritocracy is it's blind, whether it's race, gender, you pass the test or you don't. But we have lowered the standards throughout all branches of military and in a lot of police forces to accommodate women. They still fail at a much higher rate anyway and get put on the force.
Well,
and
yeah.
as a result, they're hurt more, they get injured more. If they're female cops, they get violently attacked more. So do their squad mates. So if we're talking about, yes, there are individuals, exceptions, sure, but they could have made the cut a long time ago. Not enough of them could, so we lowered the standards. And that's what I have an issue with, is legislatively, it is exclusively for women.
Well, so I feel like.
Does that clarify though?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I agree with you there, because I don't like you said, lowering the PT standards could result in just like injuries for themselves and their squad mates and just like the people they're trying to protect in general.
Right.
My only issue with the statement is it just said women, like, and obviously I knew that's just like a broad statement. So like.
Well, it's hard to fit it all on the side and say,
Yeah, like,
because from 1971 to this,
Yeah.
you know, we went from less push-ups to no push-ups. We went from pull-ups to less pull-ups to no pull-ups to
Yeah.
not even doing a leg tuck. Like, that's tough to fit on a sign, but that's the policy of the militaries, to be more inclusive. And to be more inclusive,
Yeah, no, I
they're
don't
less ready.
think inclusion should matter for things like I get like people want like inclusion here and there, representation, like stuff like that.
You just rolled your eyes. I just saw that. Inclusion. Sounds to me like maybe you're tired of that a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I'm saying when it comes to like things like the military, the PT standards, I don't think they should be dropped, because even though that'll mean technically less women would be able to join, I think the ones that would join would be the ones that actually belong and like would be able to keep up
Right.
and like actually like do their job professionally. Like I don't think a man who wouldn't be able to do it shouldn't join. I don't think a woman who can't do it shouldn't join.
And that man should preferably be laughed at,
Yeah.
mocked mercilessly.
No, I'm not laughed at, but like
Mildly shamed. You have a USA wrestling shirt. Do you wrestle?
yeah.
Well, that's a
But,
perfect example. take the best female wrestler,
Yeah.
right? Who you can picture.
Randy,
How would
the coach.
Okay, the coach. How would she fare against a man of her size, average
Like,
in high school?
She was an Olympic bronze medalist,
Mm-hmm.
so she pretty much knows what she's doing.
You ever watched Kayla Harrison roll with hobbyist men? She was a judo gold medalist twice. Or who was it? Sarah McMahon fought Ronda Rousey. She was a silver medalist. As someone who's done submission, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's not to take away that they're great for a woman, but the strength differential
no,
is so
that's actually a topic that I'm like really like, what's the word?
passionate about.
Passionate, yeah.
Let me hear it, because you do have biological men going into women's wrestling.
I hate that, and I know a lot of people want to be like, it's inclusion matters, but by taking like biological men and allowing them to compete in women's sports, you're taking away from the biological woman, because you're gonna have all these biological men dominating the categories.
Of course.
And then you'll confront someone about that, and you'll be like, well, if it's just a coincidence and if testosterone doesn't play a big role in this, then how is it they'll go from like the like 150th best in the men's category and then instantly to the first in the women's category. Like, there's a reason we have a men's division and a women's division.
I agree. So take the wrestling component, which we both agree on, it's unfair, then apply it to them going out into the front lines and they're fighting other men.
You need to take like not just like an average woman. It'd have to be more of like an elite woman to be able to join combat positions, like without lowering the PT standards.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And even then, it'd still be few and far between. I would ask you, of course, not forcing you, this is not patriarchy, that you present your reasoned viewpoints on a campus where they would be less than popular when women bring up the kind of arguments that I encounter. We need women like you who are well-spoken, who understand the differences, to be able to speak out, because I do think that a lot of women are afraid if they have a differing opinion from what they're supposed to have. A lot of girls have expressed that today. And that makes me sad. All right, well, Godspeed with it, Olivia. I appreciate it.